add, great players. It helps everybody when, you have great players that are sharing the burden of a tough football season. So I think, like anything else, whether it was Josh last year or Philip when he got here a few years ago late, and then, this year Antonio, how much can you learn and process and get in here, and we're all going to work hard and try to get up to speed as fast as possible. But we haven't had a training camp together or that, so it's, you got to force a lot of information, and we're all excited to have him, and all I could say is we're just going to work as hard as we possibly can to get up to speed as quickly as possible.
I'm not specifically worried about anything relative to Antonio Brown. I'm worried about the guys in that locker room and the quality of our execution and what we did or didn't do. Antonio's been off our team for a number of months. That we moved on from that stuff in March.
Ben, your thoughts on Antonio Brown joining these guys now?
Whatever.
All right, former Patriot Damien Woody back here with us. We're going to break down that interview with Drew Rosenhaus. Let me just give you the facts again. The same day Antonio Brown asked for his release and received it from the Raiders, the All-Pro receiver agreed to a one-year deal with the defending champs. Now, sources tell our Chris Mortensen, Max mentioned this, that Brown sought advice from professional social media consultants for ideas on how to accelerate his release from the Oakland Raiders. The Steelers traded Brown to the Raiders this offseason for a 3rd and 5th round draft pick, but New England offered a 1st-round pick, and Pittsburgh didn't want to send AB to a rival. Remember this other detail, AB was going to get $30 million from the Oakland Raiders. Now he will get $30 million from the Patriots if they pick up that option. Max, I'll start with you on this one. Did AB plan on leaving the Raiders from the very beginning?
I have no inside knowledge of this, but if you're asking my opinion, and this is just my opinion, of course he did. This was an inside job, it looks like, from the outside. Just as Rich Paul catches heat, right, for orchestrating things very well. Did it look like the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple years ago were a Clutch Sports inside job? Well, of course it did. I was critical of the Lakers. I'm like, wait, this is a Clutch Sports inside job. What are you not giving them the coach for? You're going to get the coach. You're going to get AD. Anthony Davis. You're going to get this and it. That's what this looks like with Rosenhaus and Belichick. Let's be honest here. Think about what happened. Okay, just the facts, guys. Here are just the facts. You connect the dots. The dots connect themselves. What did Belichick want? He wanted to trade for Antonio Brown, according to reports, was willing to give up a 1st-round draft pick for Antonio Brown. Steelers said, no, we want a 1st and a 2nd. Belichick balked, of course. He went for a 3rd and a 5th to the Raiders. Soon as he gets to the Raiders, why would he want to go to the Raiders? You can't win. He's not going to win with the Raiders, but he got his guaranteed money. Aha, he was crazy like a fox. He was acting a fool, and throwing tantrums to get out and get his money. Oh, he got his money. Oh, wait a minute. He's really crazy. Look at this. He's giving them a problem with the helmet. Drew Rosenhaus says, well, they got off to a bad foot because of the helmet. That wasn't the Raiders. That was the NFL. Then a million other things, including taping a conversation with Gruden.
Which is illegal.
Which is illegal in the state of California unless both parties know about it. But, guys, Gruden's not going to sue Antonio Brown. That's a distraction from the job at hand. And people would have to know that going in before he even does that. Now the Patriots magically have the exact cap space to give him not only about $10 million up front, but then $20 million team option, which is the same next year,
exactly
the same $30 million he was going to get. Now you say, well, that's a team option because this is how deals are done in real life. I'm not saying this happened, but I could imagine. We want the option. Well, I have to make sure he's not actually crazy, says Belichick. If I was doing faces on sticks, I'd have to make sure. So we're going to keep that option, but you have my word. If he's not crazy, he's going to get the $20 million. Same $30 million to play on the Patriots. They gave up 0 draft picks. These dots connect themselves. And by the way, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if you're asking me my opinion, oh, my God.
My opinion vibes with yours. I agree. I think that. Let me say this. That's not my concern. Drew Rosenhaus did a fabulous job talking with us just now. Do I think that he was not being forthcoming about some things? Of course I do. And that's his job, because if he were to be more revealing and more forthcoming about the interactions that went on, if he was my agent, I'd fire him on the spot. So he ain't supposed to say that stuff. All right, so Drew Rosenhaus did his job. What I would like to ask people on a day like today, I'm going to bring up Rich Paul. I'm going to bring up Bill Duffy and Aaron and Eric Goodwin and all of these boys. And I'm going to say, just the same way we accord Drew Rosenhaus the level of praise and throw laudables in his direction for being who he is and his zealous efforts for representing his client, let's make sure to accord that same respect to Rich Paul and the others.
That's why I brought up Rich Paul, by the way.
When it comes to LeBron James. But let's also understand this, and Damian, you know where I'm going when I say this. It's a hell of a big difference, an ocean-wide of difference between Antonio Brown and LeBron James. You see, when you have a guy like LeBron James, a superstar in this league, a champion in this league, what we don't do enough is recognize the class that he has exercised throughout his stellar career. LeBron James, to this day, the only blemish on his career in terms of his conduct was that the decision. That's it. Antonio Brown has lied. He has played teammates and organizations. He's acted like a clown. He has embarrassed his organization himself. He's thrown brothers under the bus. Mike Tomlin, our very own Ryan Clark, Juju Smith-Schuster, when he's DMing you private text messages and stuff like that, and you reveal those things publicly. He did the same thing just now to John Gruden. They had a conversation. Drew Rosenhaus connected them. What does this dude do? He goes and he publicizes the conversation on YouTube. This man has exhibited and displayed a level of selfishness, the likes of which most of us haven't seen. I don't ever want to hear T.O.'s name again mentioned in this breath, not compared to him. No. I don't ever want to hear Randy Moss's name mentioned, not compared to this. I've never seen anything like it. He should be ashamed of himself. And I'm going to say this last point, then I'm going to give it to you. I understand that as black men, we have experiences that other people don't have, and we express our points of view or whatever. But understand why. Because you got people on the come up that are going to be looking to emulate that. And they will never get away with what he got away with. And usually those of us that are in a privileged position understand it. And we're sensible enough and unselfish enough to make sure that we don't sully the pathway for others on the come up. We guard it with our very lives and our very careers so we can make sure that we don't do damage to those who will follow us. Antonio Brown didn't care. I don't give a damn about him being with the Patriots or whatever. What I give a damn about is the nonsense that he engaged in to get to this point. It's disgraceful. I'm ashamed of this brother. That's all I wanted to say.
I want y'all to follow me on a couple steps I'm about to take you through. I think, first of all, I know we talked about the like a quote unquote conspiracy with the, how everything transpired basically in like 24 hours from being released to all of a sudden magically being signed by the Patriots. But let's rewind a little bit back, okay? Antonio Brown gets traded by the Oakland Raiders. And all the moves that the Oakland Raiders made this offseason was because not only do they want to become a better team, but everything has a bigger reason. The Oakland Raiders are moving to Las Vegas for a stadium, okay? Scared money doesn't make money, okay? And you try to fill seats and all those type of things. So every coach comes in and thinks, well, if I get a guy in my program, maybe I can control him. I can help make him into the player that will be willing to play for our organization. Clearly, that didn't work out. Why? For the reasons that Stephen A., Max, and everyone else has said about Antonio Brown. He's a me-first guy. He's a very selfish guy. He's not an honest guy. So you know what Mike Mayock said? I don't want this. We can't have this guy in our program. I can't. If we're trying to build this culture, a culture similar to New England, there's no way we can do that with this guy in our program. So Mike Mayock said, okay, we sat by your side with the whole helmet situation. Fine. We sat by your side with the whole cryotherapy situation. Fine. But you not showing up. You not coming to practice. You not doing everything that the other 89 guys are doing. I got to put the kibosh on that. I'm going to find you and I'm going to take your money. Antonio Brown is just crazy. There's no other way around this whole situation.
Like Fox,
wait a minute, think about this. What individual would celebrate losing $30 million?
Somebody that knows they're going to get $30 million.
But he's not. Hold on. But
he got the $30 million back.
Let me stop you right there. Okay. This is the second part of the equation. Bill Belichick, no one is going to outfox Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Okay? Bill Belichick is the type of person that he buys penny on the dollar. Okay? This whole $20 million option, Antonio Brown will never see that.
I want to address this.
Hold on. He will never see
Why?
that $20 million.
What if he balls this year and they win a Super
Hold on,
Bowl?
they had a similar situation with Darrelle Reeves when he came over. He had a 1-year deal with another year with an option year. He never saw that. That's how the Patriots operate. That's how Coach Belichick operates. And this whole $10 million that he's supposed to see this year, guess what it is? It's a signing bonus. You know what you can do with a signing bonus as opposed to like your regular
Prorated.
salary? You can structure it any way he wants. So it's basically going to be week to week. You're going to have to prove to me that you're going to follow the Patriots way, because the minute that you don't, you will never see any more money than the following week. That's how the Patriots, they play checkers, not chess. That's how they have the
Chess, not checkers.
They play chess, not checkers. They always come out on the other side of this whole thing. They're willing to take risks in this particular situation, because guess what? It's not going to cost them anything. They're still the Patriots. They're still going to be good with either with Antonio Brown or without Antonio Brown. So it's really up to Antonio Brown. If you're going to fall in line and be a part of what's going on right here, fine. If you don't, we're going to cut you behind, and who's going to sign you?
Go ahead, man.
But here's where I read the same facts as you do and have much of the same analysis, but let me just present you another alternative that fits the facts you just said. What if Drew Rosenhaus sits down with Antonio Brown and says, they're not going to trade a first and a second for you? Way back when Mike Tomlin correctly said, as you pointed out many times, we want volunteers, not hostages. He was a well-paid hostage still in Oakland, right? Mm-hmm. He got out of there. He wasn't a volunteer. What if he said, they're not going to give up a first and a second for you, and had a conversation with Belichick and said, okay, it could be a conversation like this. If it doesn't work out in Oakland, would you be interested? Yeah, but on a 1-year deal and then all you have to do is go to the client and say, okay, you can get 10 guaranteed or 9, whatever the number is going to be guaranteed up front. And then you can get the same money, but you're going to have to be a good soldier. You're going to have to are you willing to do that? Then we have to get you out of Oakland. If AB signs up for that, think of the facts. First, there was helmet gate, as they say nowadays, right? Then he blasts the team on social media, throws everyone under the bus, including his teammates, about the fines. Then, and doesn't show up to something in the first place even to get the fine, which could void the contract. Then he tries to fight the GM. Then he uses a slur against the GM. Then he illegally records a conversation with the coach. He hired a social media firm, reportedly. Chris Mortensen.
Before Adam Schefter, Chris Mortensen.
So if AB signs up for, I want to be on the Patriots. Yeah, I could be a good soldier and get the whole $30 million. If that's the deal worked out ahead of time, all the dots connect.
Max, you want me to tell you what's irrational about your whole conversation?
Go ahead.
Okay, what's irrational is this. You're talking about a me-first guy who had $30 million in the bag, and now you're asking a me-first guy who's been that way his whole career that you basically got to fall in line to try to get $30 million, to try to work and get $30 million.
And a Super Bowl.
Wait a minute. Which is more than likely you'll never see that $30 million anyway, because that option, $20 million. Right. You think the Patriots going to pay AB $20 million?
You went away from it at that last part, because it's not really about that. Here's what it's about, guys. He left Pittsburgh because he wanted guaranteed dollars over the course of more than 1 year. He got that from Oakland, then betrayed them. That's the issue. You had your money, you betrayed them. Now, you went to a better situation in New England because they're trying to win. But ultimately, everybody, what are we talking about here? We're talking about capitulation. How you're going to have to capitulate to Bill Belichick. You can't sit up there and come to practice late. You can't skip practices. You can't keep the team playing waiting. What's the problem with all of that? It reminds us of what he got away with in Pittsburgh. If you got away with it in Pittsburgh, who does that make us think about? Mike Tomlin. So you sat up there, and as a result, because of your own selfishness, your own petulance, your own childishness, okay, along with the fact that you seem to have no problem betraying people, you threw Mike Tomlin under the bus. You put him in the eye of the storm, because now Mike Tomlin has been accused of being an enabler. You threw Big Ben Roethlisberger under the bus when he's your quarterback, and he's got to get with offensive linemen and other people and like, yo, y'all, it was this bad. But you also brought race into the equation, and Ben Roethlisberger was hesitant, from what I was told, to actually talk to those other teammates because he thought they would side with AB. So he never told them all the shenanigans that AB was engaging in away from them. You took Juju Smith-Schuster, your man, the other receiver. You're upset that he got team MVP honors. What did you do? This brother, young brother, 21 years old, got nothing but love and praise for you. You throw him under the bus. You reveal private text messages from him, okay? And Ryan Clark won a Super Bowl with this franchise, works for us. We know what he's made of. You called him a sellout. You go to Oakland. They ain't got nothing to do with the cryotherapy. They don't have anything to do with the helmet. By the way, when you were filing the grievances against the National Football League, you on the phone with another brother in Troy Vincent and his crew of dudes, and you going off on them. F-bombs and all of this other stuff. I'm telling you what I know. And then after that, you sit up there, you threaten the GM. The coach is supposed to meet with you. Adam Schefter and Chris Mortensen is reporting how you stood the coach up. After he gave you the $30 million, you apologized to the team. And in a matter of hours after the apology, you go and take the private conversation, violate California state laws that mandate both parties are supposed to agree to a taped conversation. You ignore all of that. You put the conversation on YouTube. On YouTube. Everywhere you turn, this brother has violated man codes, decency, professionalism, and on. And oh, by the way, we got brothers out here literally saying, way to go, Antonio. Hell no. This is the kind of stuff we got to put a stop to. This is not good. This is bad. And nobody out there should be thinking about emulating this BS.
I really like I think it's a very strong take. But I have a question for you. Is your principal objection, I know it works on both levels, but is the principal objection that in a team sport, or just for common decency, that level of narcissism and selfishness doesn't work, doesn't fly, and shouldn't be rewarded? Or is it more that as a black man, because you have mentioned it before, you think there's a greater degree of responsibility to other African Americans in particular? Is that your principal objection?
It's both, but certainly more the latter. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Because guess why? Because any black person out there that tries to emulate his behavior, I promise you 99% of those folks will suffer dire consequences. I'm not going to sell my people out by allowing folks to think for 1 second. And I'm not saying that other people can get away with it. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to imply that. But as a black man, let me be very, very clear. You try that nonsense in any profession, you're going to pay a price that will cost you everything. Do not emulate this man.
Real quick.
Do not do it.
It sounds to me like you're marrying two different ideas there. On the one hand, it is on principle the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, what does it profit the man to gain the world if only to lose his soul? That's the quote that comes to mind.
But particularly considering the plight of African American stereotypes, etc. Don't throw everyone else under the bus to get ahead. But you're marrying that idea on principle with the idea that for the vast majority of people, that won't work anyway. Which is more important to you? The principle that it's the wrong thing to do, or the fact that you believe it will have negative consequences?
I believe the principle is more important than just the consequences, because that's what I'm made of. But I also think it's important because here's the deal that I believe is problematic in our society. I believe too many people talk about principle, and there's not enough conversation about consequences. When you start talking about consequences, oh, trust me, people hear then. You can sit up there and tell your kid you wanted one of your wonderful daughters all day. I know I do it. Look, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. But when you remind them of the price to be paid, if they don't listen, suddenly their ears start tingling a little bit more, and folks hear you. We need to talk about consequences more, because we don't.
Here's the bottom line with this whole AB situation. Okay, this is how I know this dude is crazy. You go from having $30 million in the bag right now to basically where New England has all the leverage with the way they structure their signing bonus. You have to literally earn it every week within their structure, that Patriots way structure. Listen, I've been in meetings in New England where Bill Belichick is ripping you in front of everybody. You think Antonio Brown has ever been used to someone just undressing him in front of the whole team? And he's got to do that every week for the next 15, 16 weeks? You think he can handle that? That's why I don't think he's going to last. He's going to last this whole season.
On the field, what's the problem with Antonio, though? Who's going to, in film study, you're going to rip Antonio?
Listen.
Yeah, you might.
Maybe here and there.
Hold on. Wait a minute, Let me tell you something.
Ben Roethlisberger and them said that sometimes he picked his own routes to run. He didn't run the right route. Try that in New England.
Let me tell you something. I was in meetings where the first person who was getting ripped and undressed was Tom Brady.
Of course.
I mean, undressed. You don't think Coach Belichick would do that?
No,
with
I'm saying
Antonio
when
Brown?
Antonio
He's saying
Brown,
that Antonio Brown ain't gonna give him anything to complain about.
No.
Yes, he
What
will.
I'm saying is he'll give him less than most. But what I'm saying is when you have the culture setter like Tim Duncan in San Antonio, or Tom Brady with Popovich, or Tom Brady with Belichick, and everyone sees that guy can be undressed, then everyone can be undressed.
And Damian, it's not apples to apples though, because he wasn't going to win with the Raiders.
Well, not
he
just
could win
that.
a Super Bowl.
Do
with
y'all
the
want me to
Patriots.
tell y'all? Do y'all want me to tell y'all what the good news about this is? Rhetorical question before I answer this. Do y'all believe somebody like this should be in